Good evening, gentlemen. Thanks for stopping by tonight. I've got a little seminar here on reprogramming with J2534. I'll get started I'll go over presentation topics first. I'm going to go over J2534. We feel that it is best to get a basic understanding of how it works conceptually. Start from the basics. Deciding when it's right. Decide when it's right for you. When do you want to get into it? When should you get into it? I'm going to help you, give you some boundaries on picking the right tool. I'm going to show you some demonstrations and kind of give you some tips, some pointers on using it, getting started. This is a primer class. So if you guys have any questions during the presentation, please feel free, yank up your hand, do what you need, and I'll see what I can do to address those questions. A little bit about Drew Technologies. Founded in '95, our core competency is in automotive communications. We do what we call embedded systems. We put all the electronics in a box and then make them talk to software and do all that magic. Our focus has been J2534 for about the last 10 years now. It has been around about that long, maybe a little longer. So it takes that long for everything to kind of get to fruition, believe it or not. We've mainly sold, our business is mainly sold to the OEMs as far as vehicle interfaces. So a little bit about me. I've worked at Drew Technologies for 3 years as the technical support guy. So if you call in, you'd probably get me.
I've spoken to you actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Good. And then I do travel around a little bit and do some training. So what you can get from me, if you've got questions for me, where I kind of sit in this whole scheme of things is I know a lot of the software, a lot of the OEM software, how it works, where there's bugs, and then I know about the J2534. I'm not a technician, so if any really specific problems on a specific vehicle made in '97, a Chrysler, I may or may not be able to answer that particular question. So if you can gear your questions towards software and interfaces, I can get you there. What is J2534? J2534 is a standard of communication between a PC and a box. If you go and purchase the SAE document, I believe it's like $500. It's really boring to read. I would not put that on anybody. It basically outlines rules of how a PC application talks with one of these to communicate with a vehicle. And then anybody in here could write an application that talked to a vehicle with a standard device. So, and then this allows auto manufacturers to incorporate their software with these devices. And they have to do it by law, so. Manufacturers, you may have heard this called in the past ECU reprogramming, flash reprogramming, pass-through reprogramming, calibration updating, software updates. It's pretty much all the same thing, whether it's done with an OEM tool, with the JBox. For the most part, it's the same thing. And I'll kind of show you where all those boundaries exist. Created as a means for independent repair shops to repair vehicle emission systems without purchasing the factory scan tools for each OEM they service. By law, OEMs have to give you the ability to reprogram engine and transmission controllers. They have to do that by law. Some take it a little further, and I'll tell you more about how that's all set up as far as the standards and the laws go. Now, I'm not going to read all this, but you can if you'd like. What this page basically says is there's three major players in making vehicle reprogramming happen for the aftermarket. There's the SAE, the EPA, and CARB. EPA and CARB work together. CARB has a little bit more of a push because they're California and they like their air clean, supposedly. The EPA, the SAE writes all these documents based on what the EPA and the CARB want. The EPA then pushes on the auto manufacturers and makes it work. And this just kind of tells you in in a lot of jargon what that is. That's all of that text is actually in the legislation. It's in the standards. Basically just kind of a simple chart showing how J2534 works. You'll download the manufacturer's software and run it on your PC. You'll need internet connection at all times. The J2534 device is used as the bridge between the PC and the vehicle. The functions that are available to you from this device are determined by the manufacturer's software. And they're all a little bit different, and I'll cover those. And I'll give you some links to websites that you can look up and see what exactly they all give you. The manufacturer's software is always up to date because we are connected to the internet. So we've got the internet, we've got our PC, we've got our manufacturer's software on our PC, we've got our pass-through device connected and to our vehicle. And then with the device, we can use the software and do what that software allows us to do. Now, because this is all standard equipment, anybody can make one of these by purchasing that document and spending a lot of time and making a device. This piece of hardware should be transparent to you. You should plug it into the PC, plug it into the vehicle, and that's all you'll have to do with this. That's the only interaction you have with the hardware. And then it's all done through the software on the PC. Yes, sir.
When you could plug into different cars with that pass-through device.
Sure.
Years and years ago, I had Activa pass-through. I tried for days, actually, to get my computer to talk to it. And I could get it to flash, but I couldn't get it to actually read the car. Because I went to the program of pass-through device I used brought it in.
Sure.
If I can get more than, I can get Toyota, you said, through that cable, and Honda, and a few other manufacturers, and General Motors, I had to configure my laptop. Does each manufacturer have a different configuration, or is it all the same? So when I put the icon on there to talk to the car, like BMW wants you to use Java, drop your firewall, are all manufacturers the same in setting up my laptop to talk through the pass-through? And if they're different, is there a way do you click on that icon and it will change the configuration, or do I have to change each configuration every time I go to use the pass-through device to talk to the vehicle?
Sure. As soon as the drivers are installed for this, how the drivers interact with the application is all the same. And that actually has to be the same by law when you install that software. As far as setup for each manufacturer's piece of software, it all is a little different. They all have different systems.
So you're telling me is a computer for a car manufacturer, a computer for because that's what I have.
You don't have to.
I have 6 different laptops, and I have, it's just ridiculous. I now have a switch in my wall with 7 cables plugged into it. It's just insane.
Sure. We don't have to go that far. There is some that I do recommend it for, like BMW, which can be a pain. That you need a PC for that, dedicated.
I have my own.
A lot of the other manufacturer software is actually pretty old. They've cut it out from their older scan tools and they've dumped it in, and you can buy a computer that's 10 years old and it'll run most of them just fine.
Right.
But most of them, yeah, you can do most of those applications on one PC. I do it all the time.
Well, that would be the question. How many manufacturers can I put on one computer before I have to get another computer? Like I can see that Toyota, General Motors, Lexus might be. I could probably get that on one computer because the configuration of that computer would be the same. And if I do like a Ford, a Chrysler, or
the configuration happens within each of their own applications. So this always stays global. This will always stay the same.
It's configured in my laptop, dropping firewalls and with.
Yes, I'll go over a bit of that too as well, and how you'll configure your PC, how you'll need to set it up, what obstacles you may run into. But the configurations will be different for each manufacturer's application, and then those settings get saved for each application.
So I can save that on my icon, so when I click on it.
Sure.
Okay.
Yep. Typically, there's always a setup period at first, and then those setups are saved so that you can just jump in. There's always, the first time you do a particular manufacturer, there's always going to be more time involved for setup, and you guys have probably run into that.
Wrapper to put around your neck.
Sure. They can be a little challenging sometimes. Not for everyone.
A little challenging.
Okay. I'm going to go over the differences in the standards of J2534. There are 3 different standards. What we call a -1, a -2, and a -3. J2534-1 is a standard that says the manufacturers, and this is in law as well, it's a federal law, that says the manufacturers have to give you the ability, through a subscription, to reprogram vehicles, engine and transmission controllers, or emissions-related controllers. If there's another controller that is an emissions-related controller, they have to give you the ability to do that as well. So that's J2534-1. And they have to do it with J2534. They have to write their applications with that standard in it, and then they have to be able to use a standard box. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a second. J2534-2 allows them to give you anything else with a standard J2534 device. Case in point, Toyota. You log onto their website, purchase a subscription, and with a cable such as the Mongoose MFC, you can do full diagnostics and reprogramming. And this is a standard cable that can work on a variety of other manufacturers because it's standard.
You can do body also?
You can do everything for Toyota. Sure. So this gives them the ability to do everything else. This is ever changing. This one is set in stone at the moment by federal regulations. This particular standard is ever rotating as manufacturers add new things to their vehicles, change how communication is done over the CAN lines. So that one's kind of a rotating table. J2534-3 is actually just a piece of software it's actually almost completed at the moment. What this piece of software will do is you'll plug your J2534 box. You won't ever do this. This will be done at the OEM level. They plug it into a test station, and they test it to make sure it meets this standard. So that when you buy a box, and you know it's been through this testing, you know you'll be able to use it. If you have standards and nobody follows the standards, then why have standards? And that ties into the first one. I'm going to go over a little bit of the capabilities of J2534. The functionality of J2534 is determined by the manufacturer's service software. Each of their applications give you different capabilities. Chrysler, for example, gives you the ability to reprogram engine and transmission controllers, whereas Ford gives you most modules on the vehicle, as well as the ability to do PATS keys. So they're all a little different. Toyota gives you everything for 96 and later vehicles. And if you're a registered locksmith, you can do immobilizers and keys for Toyota. So, with one of these cables and a subscription.
Or the box if you have it already.
Yes, indeed. Yep. Some manufacturers only go as far as the specifications say they need to go. Off the top of my head, Chrysler, Honda, Nissan, and there's a few others. Subaru, Hyundai, Kia. Those guys only give you engine and transmission controllers. The rest of them are all varying, and I'll go over a couple of those. I saw you first.
Any limits to them? Let's say you said Toyota gives more and Chrysler gives less than Toyota. What is the limit?
Good, very good question.
Why Chrysler, well, you in Chrysler, but why they don't give all? It is because to protect one. You got
the main reason they don't give everything, well, by law, this is what they have to do by law. They have to give you engine and transmission by law with this standard.
It's not much more than that.
Yep. You know, they'll only do how they've always kind of worked on the OEM level is they'll only do what they have to. So they meet that standard because of legislation. Toyota's done something kind of interesting. BMW and Volvo actually give full diagnostics and reprogramming as well. It just doesn't work as good as Toyota just yet. Toyota's software is a breath of fresh air. But Toyota is kind of changing their whole tooling scheme, where they give everyone the access to this information, the tooling, at a really good price. And their vehicles stay on the road longer. Now somebody can take their Toyota to a shop of their choice.
It's just the strategy then. Toyota.
It's all business.
Fix my car, everybody can fix it. I'm happy with it. And
what
then the
Ford
guy
can
just
do.
says.
Brand recognition.
"Let's
Ford
go to the dealer."
Ford and Honda are also, they're eyeing Toyota quite heavily. And they have tooling contracts ending soon, so something to be aware of, for sure. A few manufacturers give the ability to reflash most modules. So we would be using standards -1 and -2. GM and Ford come to mind. They give you the ability to do most of their modules. And I have to say most because they even have problems writing their software to do everything. So, and then fewer still give OEM scan tool functionality, which at the moment is BMW and Mini, of course, Volvo, and then Toyota. I haven't tried the Volvo stuff yet. I have had customers use it and say it works. BMW I've got working, but you need a lot of patience, to say the least. And then, so this is using J2534 in 1 and 2. As far as OEM scan tool capability. Diagnostics over J2534. Toyota, BMW, Mini, Volvo, they all provide that at the moment. Major OEMs are watching Toyota and may be releasing similar functionality in the future. It's a whole new tooling scheme. They can now not contract the company to actually make a tool. They can keep the software in-house, have complete control over it. They can make money off of it by charging subscriptions. And in the case of Toyota, you have full factory scan tool for, well, if you buy one of these and a 2-day subscription, $550. So that's nice. Scan tool capabilities will be limited to what the J2534 tool can support with J2534-2. Toyota gives you everything.
What's Volvo and BMW doing? I actually have the tech stream. I bought the 1-year subscription, came-year cable, whatever. So I know my Toyota works with that cable. Now, for Volvo and BMW, how's that working? Do I have to buy a cable with that and a subscription, or how's that going?
Yeah.
What cable? You're buying a pass-through device?
I believe right now with BMW you have to use the pass-through or the Cardac Plus at the moment. The protocols that are required to communicate with a BMW are all in here. We don't have a Mongoose just yet for that.
They do have their own pass-through. It's almost $4,000.
Approximately.
Yeah.
And I passed over you. I'm sorry. You had a question.
Yeah, my question was, what is the difference between using that pass-through on the Toyota and using the Mongoose?
Not a thing. They're both J2534 devices.
So the exact same thing. So if you paid for the subscription, you'd get the exact same diagnostic, same programming, same everything.
Exactly. It's the only difference is this contains more hardware to talk to more vehicles. Vehicles besides Toyota use all different kinds of physical.
So it wouldn't be cost effective then to buy that cable for any reason if you already had that.
If you just want to work on Toyota, this is a great way to go.
I'm saying if you already had that, there's no purpose to buy that.
Nope. Nope. They're the same thing. Yes, sir.
What about the software? Don't you, when you get the tech stream, don't you get the tech stream software when you buy the cable as a kit?
Mm-hmm.
So if I had a J2534, I would still need the tech stream software, wouldn't I?
Yes.
So if I subscribe for a day, do I have to buy the tech stream software? Or does the 1-day subscription include the software?
The 1-day subscription comes from Toyota itself. You'll get onto their website, and they give you an option for 2 days or a year. And then with your pass-through device, you can use that software, as long as it meets the standards.
But don't you have to download this? How are we getting the software?
They give you the software for
Download it
free.
the way you
It
want
comes from their website. Once you purchase the subscription, they give you a link to it.
You just
So you
log,
don't
you
need
just,
to buy the text stream.
no, you're just logging on to, you're just
Right.
logging on to the website, that's all.
Right.
When it runs out, they cut you off. It's like BMW, they'll tell you every,
Exactly.
you have
So you
an
have to
hour,
be,
you have
you have to be logged on to scan a car.
And you're out, you're out.
It depends. They're all different that way too. Toyota is actually quite interesting that you have to, if you have an active subscription, you have to connect that PC that it's registered on to the internet once a week, which is quite odd. But for the most part, you have to be connected to the internet all the time. That's a good rule of thumb. So,
Now, let me ask a question. The different branding, Snap-on One, ATS, is it going to work with them? Because I know there are differences.
they're the same as far as the box
The
goes.
Snap-on version will not do a Kia.
That's right, and we're bugging Kia right now.
Okay, so
They're actually breaking the law because by law they have to validate a device, and they have to let all the other devices work, but they don't have to support those devices. So that's one that I think there's a few NASTF complaints in on that, and we're bugging them. So that one's going to happen, but well, slowly, couple months, and it'll be working. So on a non-validated device. I think I went over everything on that one. This is ever changing. Yep. Next slide. Deciding when it is right for you guys to get a tool. I'll go over that. I've got a sample ROI here. Cost of tools, roughly $2,000. Depending on how you're setting up this tooling for your shop, if you just want to do Toyota, $1,500 and you have a year of a full scan tool, and then $995 a year afterwards. And then you have full OEM capabilities. Training around $500 per technician. You guys are here tonight actively seeking training, so we'll count that in. ROI, average charge for repair, $120. I see about, when I ask this question, when people call in, they say they charge roughly $100. You have to fit that into your business. You can fit it into diagnostics. As G says, this may be the only way to fix the vehicle, so this goes into your tooling budget. I have some customers that live in absolutely the middle of nowhere, and the dealership is 250 miles away. So that almost pays for the tool itself right there in one tow. So average cost for each subscription, that's part of your tooling budget as well. Average time needed to reprogram, about 30 minutes. That's a rough average and that's not taking into consideration the time you've taken to set up the software, make sure it's working. So you got to take all that into consideration. Don't ever buy a tool, expect to plug it in and hit the button. You'll run into problems. So all the OEM software is quite a bit different. It installs different, it works different. Familiarize yourself with it before you get into it. Net profit per repair, around $100. Frequency of this service 10 times per month. Like G said, there could quite possibly be 7 out of 10 vehicles that need a reflash. You may only be able to fix the vehicle with a reflash as these systems get more and more complex year by year. Revenue generated each month, about $1,000. And this offsets the cost of towing, accounting for lost business, and other repair services. You can upsell a research service to look at TSBs. So, and I'll talk more about TSBs and how they fit into this. How would I use J2534 in my shop today? Some customer-related problems can be fixed just by updating the ECU calibration. There is not a hard part you can put on the vehicle to fix it. Case in point, the HVA system with the trucks. Those pop off. Of course, there's fixes for it, but 30 minutes and a reflash, and then you may never see the vehicle again, which is well, not good for business, but you fixed it. That part's done. Many service procedures must be completed by reflashing an ECU. You pull a TSB for a particular problem, a reflash is involved in the procedure. Replacing an ECU often requires flashing it to the latest version and flashing the other modules in the vehicle so their software matches. So multiple modules may need the same software. Some repair shops check TSBs and offer calibration updates as a preventative maintenance service. These reflashes come from the OEMs. They're only for the good of the vehicle. They want their vehicles to stay on the road longer, so they put these updates out there. Repair shops that do not have the reflash ability in-house have to turn the customer away or take the vehicle to the dealership. You probably want to keep customers in your shop. You probably want the tooling to be able to keep them in your shop. And as vehicles get more and more complex and you see that 7 out of 10 number go up to 8 out of 10 or a daily procedure, then this will be more required. Because J2534 can also be used for diagnostics, some shops use their J2534 for diagnostics. Toyota, case in point. What benefits do your customer get from J2534? Many times, reflash is required to fix the vehicle. Their vehicle gets fixed. Along with the vehicle repair, the customer is also benefiting from newer software in their vehicle. Changes could include improved fuel economy. We have increased performance up there, but I've personally never seen that. Cleaner emissions. The OEMs update these controllers all the time to meet emission standards. When a vehicle has 70,000 miles on it, it comes out a little differently out of the tailpipe than when it was brand new. So cleaner emissions. And then they also update them to prevent premature parts failure so that belts don't pop off. The newer software may alter driving characteristics of the vehicle if the customer becomes concerned. In very rare circumstances, I think I've had this happen twice over the last 3 years. Somebody called in and it shifts differently and the customer's concerned about it.
Fords.
There you go.
The Fords.
There you go. They change how they shift so the transmissions last longer. And you have to convey that to a customer. I know there are shops out there that have them sign release forms. You can. There is, once you've done a reflash and it's changed, there is no going back. They don't want you to go back. Alternatives to investing in J2534. You could purchase OEM scan tools for the vehicles you most commonly repair. That's a great avenue to go down. They're designed to work on that particular vehicle for that manufacturer. They're costly. You have to fit that into your business. Partner up with one or more local shops to share a J2534 tool. Once again, I'll put that on you guys. You guys could work that out. I have had some small towns with maybe a couple shops. They'll buy one and then they can learn off of it, and then they know, they keep up on it. They can learn from it, and then they go from there. Then maybe each one will buy one. Tow the vehicles back to the dealership when they require reprogramming. You can do that. Turn down work that requires reprogramming. The last two, I assume you guys don't want to go down that road. You want to keep them in-house. So I'm going to go over a couple points to kind of help you pick the right piece of hardware. There's a few big players in J2534. I'm going to tell you what you should look for when you purchase a piece of hardware. Features. You should look for a box, and this comes from one of our sales guys. Performance and technical features. From what I understand, our pass-through devices, and most of the major players' pass-through devices, can reflash a GM almost 10 times faster than a Tech 2, believe it or not. So, something to look for. The J2534-1, 2, and 3 support. And remember that the -3 is the ability to do J2534-1, which most of them do. Helper programs to fill in the gaps. Do they have an application that maybe explains some of the current problems with the applications? one that gets you to the websites, maybe has a few other options like dumping the VIN in a Chrysler when you put a new PCM in the SRI reset, things like that. Do they have an application that helps you there? What OEMs, under technical capabilities, what OEMs do they list as supported? What OEMs does that company support? Do the OEMs validate their hardware? You can go to each manufacturer's website. They have to do this by law. They have to validate at least one device that works with their J2534 software. Go to the websites, see which devices are validated. And then that will help your decision. Do they have technical support? Try calling for a pre-sales question. Call them and see if they have technical support. How far are they willing to help you? I know, for example, we can do so much over the phone, of course. We have a lot of experience with the domestic automakers. I have some experience with BMW myself, and I can help you through some of those. We try to help as far as we can. Since we're so close to the OEMs, what we like to do is if there's a particular problem, I like to capture as much information as I can, and then I send it to the OEMs, because I've found problems with their software, and then I send it to the OEMs and it gets fixed. You can also do that if I find a problem like that. I can help you fill out a NASDIF complaint form, and that not only helps you, maybe not in the short term, but it helps everybody with a standard tool get the resources to do what you need to do. Where's the business position? What do they do? What is their core competencies? Vendor strategy, some remanufacture ECUs, some supply to the OEMs. That's just kind of where the business is positioned. That may or may not help you pick a device. OEM validation. OEMs test devices and validate one or more multiple units for use with their software. Head to the OEM website, see what devices that they validate. Most of them do a few. Yes?
Excuse me. For example, is there a limit for the manufacturer? You have to sell so many of them. For example, Ferrari. You go on their website, you will not find any tool that validates it.
Mm-hmm.
Why Toyota and not Ferrari?
I don't know.
Because it's the law is in the States for each and every square centimeter. So what is the deal? Maserati, you won't find. Aston Martin.
Okay. Some of those manufacturers, it's limited by production as well. Once you get to a particular production level, you don't have to meet these requirements. So
they are below
yeah.
that level.
Porsche's a pain anyway.
But they offer free updates on their car for motion control.
Mm-hmm.
You need an emissions update, they offer for free if you bring it back to the dealer.
I've never tried it. I don't know. I can't tell you if it works or not. From
what I'm told, that's what they offer. Whether it works or not, that's a different
they're like on that level of not being much of a pain for the EPA and the SAE, so they can skip under the radar sometimes. And some of those like Bentleys or Ferraris, they don't offer this. So
You're not commuting in those cars.
What's that?
You're not commuting in those cars.
No. Yeah, I don't know how many of those come into the shop. Maybe you specialize in those. But then again, you probably have that particular tool. Any other questions? Okay. Validation by an OEM means that support is available through the OEM. When they validate a particular tool, they have to support it. Well, they don't have to, and most of the time they're not all that really good at supporting it. But if you have a tool that's validated by them, most of the time they will give you support. Some are better than others. They do take time. I always recommend that you if you have a problem, send a support ticket in to the OEM and then call me. That's how I kind of have all my customers do it. It not only does that kind of keeps them in the loop as far how things are working on their software. If they get, for example, 10 particular problems in a week's time, that are identical. Maybe they have a problem and they'll fix it. So I always have people send that into the OEMs. When an OEM validates a tool, it typically means they use it often internally. They use all kinds of different interfaces internally and buy different interfaces all the time. When they validate one, they can just pull it off the shelf. List of companies that validate tools are Ford, Honda, Isuzu, Kia, Mazda, Mercedes, Mitsubishi, Subaru, Toyota, Volvo, and VW.
Validate that tool or
They validate tools.
tools?
So
So General Motors does not validate any tools?
they do. They do have a couple tools that they validate. Do I want a J2534-2 box? Of course you do, yes. You can do things like diagnostics with Toyota, keys with Toyota if you're a registered locksmith. GM uses what defines J2534? What makes a box compliant with J2534-2 is the actual physical protocols that it supports, like GM single wire CAN in UART. This does single wire CAN. A variety of other J2534 boxes do that, so they can do things like the vehicle theft deterrent module or any low priority module that's on a GM vehicle. Honda, Toyota, they all have very specific non-generic protocols similar to CAN that they build into their tools. That would be a part of J2534-2. VW does TP 2.0. That's a software protocol, how they actually send the information over the communication lines. What does having that gain? Well, you can do diagnostics with Toyota. If you don't have a box that doesn't support -2 functions with a particular manufacturer, then, well, you won't be able to do everything associated with that manufacturer. Typically, your tool vendor can tell you what they support for a particular manufacturer. So, how do I know if my box is J2534-2 compliant? Call your tool vendor, see what they support. They'll tell you. Because most of them have strengths or weaknesses in other areas, and so they'll focus on an OEM or a few and make sure that their box talks on those protocols that they need to talk on. What happens when the standard changes? Well, we can update the software. I don't see, as far as a physical change, as far as hardware, we're not seeing anything crazy in the next 5, 6, 7 years. CAN is here. We are seeing newer vehicles with 3 or 4 CAN networks. So the box would have to add a CAN network or 2. That's the major changes we're seeing as far as physical changes. Most other changes are done via software. This actually runs an operating system. It runs Linux. So we can change the software in here when a manufacturer changes the way they do something with their software. And then we just update the box and the driver, and all the other manufacturers do that as well. Notes about bench reprogramming. You may have a couple questions about bench reprogramming. You may have heard about people doing it. We don't recommend it. I don't recommend it. There may be circumstances where you would need to use it. I have a case in point here, a Mazda 626, model year 96 and 97. I had a gentleman call up with a problem once. He was doing a 96 626, and it would communicate with the car, pull everything out of the car, but it wouldn't let it program. And it's done through Ford module programming, and it should be. I couldn't figure it out. I finally had him look at the DLC, and pin 13 was not populated. Come to find out, Mazda had saved 35 cents a vehicle by not populating pin 13 on the DLC to the ECM. And that's required for the FEPS. It's the FEPS circuit. 18 volts is put on that pin when a vehicle goes into reprogramming mode. And, well, that couldn't happen. So he actually had to pull it out and do it on the bench. So, an instance where you may have to do that. I've seen some people do it with the 03, 04 Trailblazers that fail reflashes. And when you do that, you kill a controller on a Class 2 GM. pre-canned GM.
Some of
be-
the early Cadillacs too, going that bench.
Yep, it has to do with the J1850 bus. The other modules won't shut up.
Corvettes, you got to take the stock connectors out and use the tool to isolate.
So they have you pull fuses. I've even had some customers have problems with that, so they just always bench program them. I'll leave that up to you. We don't support it. There can be, from the technical support end, there could be, when you're trying to help a customer pin out an ECU, and that's kind of, that's iffy territory, so we stray away from that. Most, 99% of the time it's not required anyway. So there may be other modules in the vehicle that get communicated to and synced, for example, so we don't recommend that. Coded, you could say. BMW, for example. And that's pretty much that slide. You can find all of the pinouts for each controller on Mitchell, AllData, OEM websites, TSB's repair manuals. For a CAN vehicle, it's typically, there's only 5 wires that you would need to connect. There's ground, power, keep alive power, and then the 2 CAN lines, and that's it. And you could do a bench reprogram, but for other reasons, we say no. The essentials using J2534. Here's some things that you will absolutely need. Resources, resources, resources. You need these more than you need a pass-through device. It is not a plug-and-play process. Use your resources to a maximum. Get on Mitchell, AllData. Go to all the OEM websites allow you to purchase TSBs, repair manuals, wiring diagrams. Get that information. That is absolutely critical when you're doing a reflash. There may be other procedures required. You put a new controller in a GM, you're doing a GM crank angle relearn. Make sure you have that capability before you put a new controller in a GM. I've heard of some Toyotas, even though Toyota isn't known for a lot of reflashes, there are some Toyotas that require an actual hard part, a MAF sensor, when you do a reflash. So get the whole picture before you just plug it up and hit the go button. Necessary tools. You want a computer with Windows XP or Windows Vista 32-bit. You really want to go to the manufacturer's website and see what they require.
So you support Vista?
Huh?
You guys support Vista?
Sure.
It's funny because all of the stuff like GM, Ford, they all tell you straight out, no Vista.
I've seen Windows 2000.
When I bought my Dell, I said to them I need XP, and they said why? I said because every single manufacturer I have tells me I can't use Vista. And they're asking me why, and I'm saying because they're telling me I can't use it. I know with GM, I actually had a problem with the software that it wouldn't work with Vista. And it was in the middle when they switched. And I'm going, all of a sudden it wouldn't work. And I couldn't understand why it wouldn't work. And I was on tech support for like 4 hours, and they're trying to figure out why it wouldn't work. And like, have you done anything different? I'm like, no, I haven't done. I had no idea that we even changed it. My computer guy was in, and he had changed the software. And finally figured out like, oh, you have Vista in there. Oh yeah, that's the problem. You can't use Vista.
Yep. Even the internet browser that you're using.
Right, Explorer 8.0, they don't want the...
I've had lots of problems with Internet Explorer 8.0. 6 and 7 is typically what they all recommend or use. So that's when they designed all their software, is during that time period, and they, of course, will not change it until they absolutely have to. So that's dependent on each manufacturer. High-speed internet connection, that Ford ECM TCM 16 meg, that's not as much of a problem anymore. DSL's cheap. That's more than fast enough. If you have a dial-up connection, that won't work. But I doubt anybody here has a dial-up connection. A good battery charger with less than 1 volt AC ripple. Jump packs also work great. Once again, G and Pierre can tell you who to go through for that. Some BMWs require up to 90 amps at very specific voltages, and those voltages can be different, so get one that you can dial the voltage in with no AC ripple. No, you want DC, pure.
Used to be a solid state.
Yep, sure. Source for service information, TSBs, repair manuals, etc. Mitchell, All Data, all of you may have one of those services. All the OEMs allow you to purchase TSBs, repair manuals, and wiring diagrams from their websites. Actually, their prices aren't horrible, depending on which one it is. Required skills. This is just kind of a generic required skill set. Knowledge of using various Microsoft Windows operating systems. All the OEMs require different operating systems, have some knowledge of using those. Luckily, most of them are similar as far as how they work. Maybe not how they look, but how they work. Navigating folders, manipulating files, cut, copy, paste. That can help you in other areas as well. Know how to install, uninstall software. Forward module programming, whenever they come out with an update, you have to uninstall the previous version and install the newest one. So know how to go into the control panel, add, remove programs, get the old one out of there so you can get the new one in. Have knowledge of using the internet. Know how to set up a web browser. Which browser do you need? 6, 7, 8? Probably not 8, maybe 6 or 7. What settings do you need to set up in the web browser? That's probably different for each manufacturer's website, so keep that in mind. Have knowledge of using various supporting software. Adobe Acrobat. A lot of the manufacturers put all of their documents on Adobe Acrobat in a file format called PDF. So that comes installed on every computer sold today, so you don't have to find that anywhere. Java. Know how to install the latest version. If you go to java.com, there's a huge button on the first page that says download me. So that's pretty much it. A lot of the manufacturers use Java in some of their small parts. I know GM, TistaWeb runs on Java. SPS runs on Java now completely. So luckily that's really easy to get set up. And know how to use zip files. A lot of the times, if you have a problem, we send things with zip files. I don't really like them at all. The OEMs will send things as zip files. Sometimes you download things from their website in zip files. A zip file is just basically an archive file. It's a way of sending, 2 or more files as one. Windows can open zip files, can manage them. Just kind of know how to work with them a little bit. Resources. I've got some resources up here for you. NASTIF. Probably one of the best free resources you can find on the internet for this kind of thing. NASTIF.org. This has links to all the OEM websites, so if you need to find a particular OEM's website to buy a subscription, download their software, head to NASTIF.org and they'll have it there. They have J2534 capabilities per manufacturer. They have a fairly updated list of what you can do with your J2534 box, what capabilities that OEM gives you. They have a reprogrammable module list for each manufacturer, and that changes constantly, and more. They give you other things like what OEM tools each manufacturer sells. There's quite a bit of information on there, so put that one in your bookmarks. Good source for repair manuals and TSBs, All Data, Mitchell, etc. The manufacturer service websites, they sell that to everybody. They want to sell that to everybody, and their prices actually aren't all that bad. $30 a month, $50 a month, some of them are more. IATN. IATN's a good resource. You have to take everything that's said on there with a grain of salt, as whenever you're on some kind of discussion board or in any kind of discussion with people. So it can be a really good resource. Don't take anything personal on there. People can get mean. You can get quick replies to posted questions. Sometimes good. Like I said, you have to take them with a grain of salt. But there are some people on there that you post something, within 10 minutes, they've got 3 pages posted for you. Does it need an update? The logical process to follow for determining whether or not a vehicle needs an update. Preliminary vehicle diagnostics. You'll start, you'll connect, you'll scan what codes are present, what's going on. You'll check TSBs and other service information based on what you found. Are there TSBs out there for this particular problem, which you've pulled out of the vehicle? Are there any articles concerning your problem? What's involved in the fix? Maybe a reflash is involved, maybe not. What is involved in the reflash? If a controller update may solve the problem, cross-reference controller part numbers with part numbers on manufacturer websites. All the manufacturers give you a way, I'm not going to say all of them, they give you a way to look up whether or not a controller needs an update. calid.gm.com. GM gives that for free. You go there, put in the VIN of the vehicle, and they'll give you a list of the modules that the vehicle has and tell you all the current part numbers. So you can reference the part number that you pull out of the vehicle and use it there. Do not update a controller just to update a controller. Other procedures may need to be accomplished. Check your TSBs. Some vehicles may even need new hard parts after a reflash. MAF sensor in the case of the Toyota. Check your TSBs. You may have to put a MAF sensor in a Toyota. Don't reflash the Toyota and then realize you have to dump a $300 MAF sensor into it. Flash programming should only be performed when a tech has done the research and concluded that a flash update will solve the problem. That's a good way to live programming. I know a lot of people a lot of trainers that say always update the vehicle, and as long as you're comfortable doing that, if you've updated that vehicle before, then maybe that's a good road to go down. It's only good for the vehicle. The calibrations come from the OEMs. It's a preventative maintenance. But once again, look at your TSBs. What's involved in the reflash? Don't just plug it in and hit go, because you could run into some roadblocks.
If you're doing a reflash,
before you contact anyone, there's a couple things you need to collect. OEM software version numbers. You need to collect pass-through tool, driver, and firmware version numbers. We post that on our website. We have tools that will tell you what they are. Most of your tool vendors can help you with that. Vehicle information, VIN, year, engine, transmission, some options. Make sure you have the equipment set up so that the tech support can walk you through the issue as soon as you call. I've had guys call in and they go, well, I got this problem. I go, well, let's go to the vehicle and pull up the software and see what you get. Well, I put it all away. Well, why are you calling me then? I can't help you. And then we have to take another 15, 20 minutes and set it all up. Contact the manufacturer first. I always tell my customers to do this. When it helps the manufacturer, like I said, if they see 10 of the same problem in 1 week coming through on technical support, then there could be a problem and they may be more inclined to fix it. Contact the J2534 device manufacturer. They typically give technical support. After you get the manufacturer, get a hold of me. Document and take screenshots. This can help me sometimes if you send me a particular screen that's giving you problems where you're getting the error code. I have some customers that document everything. If they have a vehicle that's a particular problem, they document all the screens, and now they have a document of how they went about it. And this is pretty easy to do. If you hit the control button and then the print screen button, Windows will actually capture everything on the screen. You can go into a program such as Microsoft Word, hit the control button and then the control and then V, and it'll put it right in there. You can make captions, you can write right underneath it. So that's in every copy of Windows.
Control V is what does it?
Control V.
I thought it dumped it into the clipboard when you did the...
It does. It dumps it into the clipboard, and then Control V is just paste. You can hit just paste, and it'll paste it
So
anywhere.
once I open up the Word document, whatever it is, I just do Control V and it's going to automatically dump?
V is in Victor or V is in Bravo?
Victor. Yep. Yeah. If you hit Control, if you hit X, that's cut. If you hit C, that's copy, and then V is paste. Sometimes that can...
Then you have to open the Word document. You have to open Word first.
Yep.
Minimize, then do it.
Yep.
Which one is?
You got to open Word first. Just minimize it, then do copy, then paste it. Just open
This
Word.
one, I've done it on where it's in the clipboard, so when you open up the document, you hit the clipboard, and there it is. So
Exactly.
try it like this.
Yeah, and it'll save typically one, every time you hit it, it'll just save one of them. So take a screen, paste it, then you have a document you can send to me, and I can go, well, this is where you're going wrong, or, well, this is weird, maybe there's something wrong with the manufacturer's software, or it helps out. Yes, of course.
Print screen is the same as printing, control P, printing.
There is on every standard keyboard. There's a key called print screen, and it's typically well, on this one it says it's up on the top, and it says PRTSC. It's kind of one of those keys that no one ever really uses, that I really never use except when I'm doing this.
You always have to use it in conjunction with something else.
Sure. Doing these tasks before calling tech support can drastically reduce your time on the phone. You could be on the phone for an hour and 45 minutes, or a half an hour, or 15 minutes. So just doing those few steps beforehand can save you quite a bit of time. I'm going to start with Ford. A normal reflash is about 15 minutes. That's, of course, after you get the software set up, you've registered, you've paid for your subscription. But once you get the software turned on, plugged into the vehicle, you got to remember we're not doing anything with this. We're just plugging this in. Once we get that plugged in, software up, about 15 minutes for an engine controller, typically. That's a general rule of thumb. If you're doing other modules, it can take a lot longer. If you put a new engine controller in, you've got to do PATs, and then that instantly adds on 10 minutes, of course, because you have to wait for the security, and then so forth. If you're doing a 6-liter, whenever you do an engine, transmission, or FICA module, you have to do all three, and it always does that. That's about a 30-minute process. So it can vary. Ford ECUs are generally recoverable in the event of a failed flash. Normally Ford flashing goes smoothly, but over the last 6 months, they have had some problems. I've seen the F-150 problem. We haven't seen that they've fixed that, but they've been breaking and fixing a problem with the 6 liters, and it had to do with flashing the engine, transmission, and FICA module. It didn't kill the module per se, but the vehicle wouldn't run, and you weren't able to reflash it, and that was a problem with Ford software. Since I believe it's working at the moment.
They prompt you now to unplug the relay, certain relays.
Yep.
Okay, which they didn't do early on, but that's what they do in the factory end of it.
Okay.
It's because there was such power surges. They were powering up the glow plugs. It was so you're unplugging the glow plug relay when you do it, and you can't stabilize that. I mean, that's massive current.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you have a failed reflash, and more time. Ford supports reprogramming for all modules on the vehicle except for medium speed CAN and UBP. UBP is an old protocol. You probably won't reflash any of those anyway. Medium speed CAN is some of their low priority modules. I haven't seen many problems with that. You'll get an error that says this J2534 device does not support this procedure or function. It's along those lines. And once again, I haven't seen that very often, maybe 5 calls in the last 3 years. Very low priority modules. You can perform patch key reprogramming. You put a new controller in, you reflash it, you can relearn the keys. You can add keys. Some PAT systems, I think, do up to 16 keys if your customer wants that. Subscription costs are about $27 for 3 days. They have monthly and yearly options as well. When they're not that bad. I think it's $60 and then $500 or $600 for a whole year. So they're not bad. You can update the ECU at the same calibration, but there's no going back. Once you update it, you can't go back. There may be a way to go around that, but I'm not going to say there is. All 96 to present, plus some 94 and 95 vehicles can be reprogrammed. They allow reprogramming for that. I wouldn't count so much on the 94, 95. We have seen it. That's when Ford started getting into OBD2, is roughly 94. And this, they include Ford, Lincoln, Mercury, and Mazda in their subscription. So, some more information. Their website is motorcraftservice.com. They have Flash software there. That's where you'll download Ford module programming. Repair manuals, TSBs, and other tooling. It's all a la carte on their website. You can go there, purchase it, use it. The program that you will be using is Ford module programming. What you'll do is you get to their website, get registered, download, get the subscription. This is the program you'll be downloading and actually using to do the flashing. It gets installed on your computer. It needs an internet connection at all times, and it allows you to do most modules. Where do I get started with Ford? You'll see this kind of repeat. This is kind of the logical process that you'll use when you got your device, your computer, and an internet connection, and what do I do next? And this is kind of a broken record through all the manufacturers because it's very similar. Using Internet Explorer 6 or 7, you'll go to motorcraftservice.com. You'll register with their website, purchase a subscription. Once you have a subscription, you will download and install Ford module programming. You will make sure your pass-through device is installed, and then run Ford module programming. And from there, they ID the vehicle. They then give you a list of modules that they allow you to reflash.
You were saying they'll read the VIN number on some cars, or all cars. If the VIN number doesn't match the VIN number on a car, is it possible someone could have used a computer in it and didn't tell you?
Could be. Could very well be. I've had guys call in and say that they've got a junkyard controller from a very similar vehicle and put it in and it works, and that's the wrong way to go about it at all.
Right, don't forget, we don't always get the car from the get-go.
Sure, of course.
Somebody else has been screwing with it.
Exactly. If you see that and the VIN pops up, it'll come up at one point. I'll show you in the video. It goes, is this VIN correct? And you'll say yes or no. And then if you hit no, it allows you to do what they call a blank path procedure. And you can put in as-built data at that point. You can put in the tear tag and part number. And then later on, it'll ask you what they call programmable parameters, which is rear end size, tire size, a bunch of other stuff that's...
Program the vid block.
Yep, that's particular to the vehicle. But as-built data will do that all for you. When you do a Ford, typically if you're putting a new controller in, you'll want to leave the old one in unless it's completely fried, doesn't talk on a scan tool at all. In case I know they have problems with drivers go bad. At that point, the controller still communicates. You'll leave it in, run Ford module programming, get communicated, go to reprogram it. You'll do an install. And they want you to leave the old one in. It pulls all the information out of it and dumps it in the new one.
It's called PMI. That's what you're going to look for.
Programmable module installation. And I'll show you that in the video here soon. This is motorcraftservice.com. Whenever you come to this website, you're going to want to click on this technical resources link at the top. You'll sign up, register with the website. It's free at this point. It basically starts your identity on Motorcraft Service. You'll create your account. From that point, you'll log in. You will purchase a subscription. You have the option of a short, medium, or long-term subscription, which is 3 days, a month, or a year. And once that's done, they give you that little link at the bottom left on that under My Subscriptions. And then you can download Ford module programming. downloaded as an executable file. It's a program. You'll double click it. It gives you an installation window, asks you where to install it, a couple other things, like installing any other piece of software. I typically save it somewhere. What's that?
Save it to a folder.
Mm-hmm. I'll click on that installer. I think that was FMP 46. 49, excuse me.
That's old already, huh?
Yeah.
64.
Yeah, I think 65 is coming out soon.
Now, if you do, like, say, a 3-day subscription, is there a limit of how many downloads you can do, or as many you can do in 3 days?
You can do 150 in 3 days, and more power to you.
Okay.
That would
So if
be...
you, let's say, lined up, say, 2 or 3 or 4 cars,
Sure.
way to do it.
Of course. Yeah.
Get the most of your money.
You could do that for sure. Yeah. You can... That's a really good way to go about it. I know people that do that.
You don't do a yearly subscription or a monthly.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, their subscription is really well priced, $27 for 3 days. So, here I'm starting Ford module programming after I've installed it. One point is, once during the installation, it's going to ask you a user ID. It's the same user ID that you use on their website to log in and buy the subscription. They put it in the program, and when the program runs, that's how it knows you have a current subscription, as it goes out to the internet and finds that. I'm going to start a session, make sure I have an internet connection. At this point, it's pretty step-by-step. You want to reference your TSBs, because this won't tell you everything. If you need to do something particular, it may or may not tell you in this program. They do give you a lot of information here, but have your TSBs in hand. It's going to ask you for the VIN here. And at that point, that's at the point where if it's not right, you'll hit no, and then it gives you other options. RO, odometer reading, you don't have to put those in. They put it on a sheet that you can give the customer later. It found the information. It says complete here. And then I can hit my little toolbox at the top left. Now I have access to module reprogramming and PATS functions. I'm going to click on module reprogramming here. And sometimes you think you'll get stuck and it's not doing everything. Always watch this little right corner, because they'll put a check mark in there. And I've sat at screens for like 5 to 10 minutes, and I'm like, what's it doing? But then I realized that this little itty-bitty check mark popped up. So. Yep. What I did here is I tried to just do a module programming on the ECM, but it had the latest calibration and said it wasn't going to do it. So now I'm going to go to programmable module installation. This is for a class demonstration only. And I'm going to reprogram the module with the same calibration. They're going to make you flip the key about 30 times, so keep the window down, make it accessible. At that point, it said install a new module. If you were doing an installation, you would have had the old one in until that point. Mm-hmm. Install the new one. And it does its thing.
This is when you don't kick out the power.
Yep.
So when it says install new module, at that point, you'll turn the key off, swap the parts out, and then when it tells you to turn the key back on or whatever, then
Yes.
it'll tell you to do that?
Yep, it saves all that information from that old controller, things like the tire size, real axle ratio, and dumps it back in, so you don't have to sit there and put in 40 parameters and find all that information.
It's like 1%.
It went through, that was pretty quick. I cut a bunch of it out. That one was roughly, I think it was a 2.3. There was just an engine controller. It was like 7 or 8 minutes was the total time. Just at that point. We already had some other time before and afterwards. But, mostly it steps you through step by step. Always follow, do exactly what they say on the screen. Yes, sir.
Will this recover information from a dead computer?
May or may not, yes.
Asking you for that step. So if that computer's, say, fried, and you can't get, and you can't get any information out of it, what happens then?
At that point, you'll head to their website and do all as-built data. You can put the tear tag number and PCM part number in, and then you can specify it all yourself, which, if you do all as-built, you just put those numbers in and it does it all for you.
That's how I used to have to do it with the NGS when I first started.
Yes, sir.
Does Ford have a tech line that you can talk to an actual person?
They don't.
Let's say
They-
you're going through these prompts, you get stuck, or you have a problem with your internet access, or...
They don't.
If you have an IDS, you can get through it. Go talk to you if you have a current IDS.
Oh, okay, they don't, yours.
They have a guy I've talked to. I believe his name is
Ernie's one of them.
Ernie Ball. That's the guy. If you send an email and explain your problem, they put you on a list and they call people back in order. I've seen it longest. He takes about 24 hours to get back to you. I've seen him take about that long. But he does call you and he tries to work through the problem with you. He is a nice guy.
Very nice guy.
I tried that with BMW, their server was down.
Oh, that's
And I-
useless, forget that.
I lost my subscription. They sent me an email to fill out a whole document, explain exactly per detail what happened.
You gotta email
what I
it.
downloaded, what I didn't download.
You got to email Josh at Webmaster.
Yeah, Josh, thank you.
Yep. That's
They double charged me for the same day once and I never got it resolved.
Couldn't get the refund.
They needed the money. They charged me twice for the same 24 hours and they wouldn't talk to me about it.
That's how they're going to fight.
What does GM charge for a session?
they
$320. And that'll give you a month. Or your other choice is $1,300 for a year.
they did just change it. The 1300 is for with Tech 2 updates, I believe,
That's
and then
what
they
I
give you SPS.
That's right, yeah.
They do give you just SPS for $9.95.
Yes, that's it.
And a few months ago, they do quarterly now for $250.
Oh, is it $250 now? Is that-
Quarterly. That was a few months ago.
We just updated ours and it was $1,300.
Yeah, but we keep the Tech 2s updated with that. so.
Yep.
It's kind of foolish not to get it with
If you
the
have a
updates.
Tech 2,
If
it's
you have a
just
Tech 2,
another few $100 and you have the whole updates and
Because they
That's,
release a lot of updates on the scan tools, so it's kind of...
something to keep in mind if you're going to be spending that much money on a subscription. Does this Ford need an update? I have two methods of checking up here. I'm just going to cover one. You could run Ford module programming and go through it, but that's an older way of doing it. The way you want to do it is go to motorcraftservice.com. At their website, they do have it's like a 7-step procedure that you'll go through, and it tells you how to reference part numbers that you pull from their controller to a part number list that they have.
So it's like looking up GM prompts.
Similar, very similar, yes. And based on that, you'll know if they have a whole setup with the numbers. You can tell whether the one that's in the PCM and the one that's in their calibration chart, if it's old or new. So they allow you to do that, and that's free. You don't have to pay to do that. You can log in if you go on their website. If you go to technical resources, quick guides, latest calibration information, they give you a way to do that. It's a little clunky. You have to read. It's a small paragraph. Have to read how to look it up, but it's there and it's free. So that way you don't have to spend the $27 and then realize it didn't need an update and you didn't need the $27 subscription. When things go wrong, this is another one that gets repeated. I went over it a little bit in the tech support page. You're going to want to collect all the information. A big one is collect the error number / text. Typically, FMP throws up an error code. You want to record all that information. Sometimes they give you some really odd code, and nobody, even the people at Ford, don't know what that means. But a lot of times, there's probably 5 or 6 error text messages. If you call somebody, like if you call me, I can tell you exactly what's going wrong and you can get it fixed pretty easy. Firmware, so always collect the error messages that program gives you, because that's invaluable information for solving that problem. Firmware and driver version for the pass-through device, always need that. There may be an updated firmware that you don't have that resolved the problem. All vehicle information. Operating system, what operating system are you running? That may impact what's going on. Ford module programming version number. If you have an old version number, it won't work. They don't allow it to work. So, and they give you weird error codes. So, I always check that. Send all this information to Ford. I always tell my customers to do that. Then call your J2534 pass-through vendor. They'll give you help. And then I do have some commonly fixed errors on the next slide. These are things I've put together that I see mostly when people call in and they get these particular errors. Probably, 90, 95% of the problems are these right here, these three errors. They cannot get communication established with the vehicle when they hit that button that says, start new session. It comes back and says, I can't find your vehicle. You wait the 45 seconds, which is more like 2 or 3 minutes, and it says, I can't figure it out. What you're going to want to do is check to make sure that the correct pass-through device and driver is selected. And the way you do this with Ford, and before you even start it for the first time, you need to do this. You need to go to you go to the Start menu, and you go to Programs, Ford Motor Company, FMP, Change J2534 device. And from there's 2 options you have to select, which pertains to your pass-through tool. And then it typically works. Ford defaults to whatever tool is set up when it gets downloaded and installed, and most of the time it's the wrong one. So you have to go through that step whenever you install Ford, or you never get communication. Second error I see mostly, FMP error, invalid dealer code submitted. It'll throw that up to you after the point where it says, I'm trying to connect to the internet, establish an internet connection. What I see there is the name that I registered with at motorcraft.com was entered into FMP wrong. It's easy to skip it over an installation. Sometimes it doesn't take. You can enter it right back into the program and be on your way. Or there is no active subscription on that account. Those are the 2 fixes for that particular error. Once again, that's another one I see quite often. FMP error, diagnostic test error, failed HTTP file transfer. Another error code that I've seen pop up when it tries to connect to the internet. And this kind of brings up a whole other thing that I should probably actually even throw on a slide in here. You're going to want, whenever you're doing programming, you're going to want to make sure that you have any antivirus, any malware, firewalls. You want that all shut off. There's a program that these particular programs don't see as allowed, trying to download information and install information and moving it through all these various channels on your computer, and it freaks out. A little bit about Toyota capabilities, requirements, quick website overview. I'd like to do that, but unfortunately I don't have internet access here, so I won't be able to do that. But I do have some good points about Toyota. Since they are fresh, brand new, and have given you quite a bit of capabilities for a very good price. We're going to go over them a little bit today. TechStream, what's that? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought somebody had a question. TechStream and a validated J2534 device work together to give complete diagnostics and reflashing on DLC3, which is 96 and later Toyotas. They give you everything. Diagnostics, reflashing. If you're registered with the NASTA Vehicle Security Professional Registry, which I understand there's a fair amount of hoops to jump through, they give you immobilizers and key reprogramming as well. And that's for the same price. So it's complete for 96 and later. Yes, sir?
So what you're saying is if you buy that, say the pass-through or whatever, and you sign up for the Toyota website, that's all you have to do, and then you have to complete parameter lists and reprogram the keys.
Yes, sir. Well, the keys, you must be registered with the vehicle security professional
Your
registry.
subscription runs out.
Yep.
So it becomes a Toyota scan tool in essence.
Yes, sir. Yep, we got a standard interface in an OEM that has opened it up and allowed aftermarket companies, independent repair shops to access this software. And by writing their software to be able to communicate with this interface that's completely standard and conforms to the standards, there's your complete tool.
So you'll be able to access the body controls and everything.
Everything. It's awesome. Yes, sir.
On the website, I don't know if it's just a selling tool, but they keep pushing getting the mongoose cable with the software, because that's the only way they're going to guarantee complete transfer of information.
That's what they support.
But
Yep.
it's not really true. I mean,
It doesn't have to be. They're not putting any falsities out there, but that's all that they're supporting, is what they're saying.
Just like if you look further, they're only supporting 2 computers that you can put it on also.
right, right. Saw that
So
too.
basically, if you have an issue, if you have it on an HP and you have an issue, you call them, they're going to say, oh, well.
Yeah,
What
you
is-
didn't
what-
get the ones we recommended.
They're just supporting a Dell and an Acer netbook.
So, and these are
Yeah,
$299 now.
Yeah, 3 something, I paid.
So, I can't say they're going to work with everything, but most of the OEM software is 10 years or older anyway, and it was meant to be run on computers that are over 10 years old. So, this is more than enough for most of them. Acer makes them. These were like the hottest selling computer electronics item of last year and the year before. So you can get one of these for $299. I think like through Verizon and some of those other wireless carriers, they'll give one to you for like $99 if you sign up for a year or 2 years. So
Where you get it then? That's right.
anywhere. You can get them anywhere, yeah.
Shop right now.
Shop right, show it.
Get them anywhere.
They're all
So.
sold netbooks, and they all have Atom processors.
Oh, you get time downstairs.
Yep.
Good time downstairs.
Yep. So we're working on DLC3 vehicles. Toyota gives you complete parameter lists for all of their modules, full bidirectional capabilities for all of their modules. You can view all of their DTCs, all of their codes. And then, of course, if you have a NASTIF vehicle security professional, if you're in that registry, they give you access to immobilizer and keys. There's smart reset capability. I do have some of their system requirements up here. I'm not going to read through all of them. Those are here for you. They're on their website as well. You can look up all this information. They give it for free. They don't hide everything. Their website is a breath of fresh air. It's really usable. They tell you what does, what doesn't work. If they have some bugs, they tell you the workarounds for the bugs. They're amazing. And if there are bugs, I can tell you they are working on them on their end to make them work. So, what's that? I'm sorry. They're the example that we hope the rest of the OEMs follow in the near future. And like I said earlier, a lot of them are watching Toyota, so it's very possible.
Last year you were at Vision, right?
Yes.
You were hinting towards one of the major manufacturers going this way. Is this the one you were talking about at the time, Don?
Could have been. Sure, yeah.
So vague.
And of course, a Toyota validated pass-through device is required. Getting started with Toyota, once again, broken record, it's basically the same thing. Go to their website, create an account, which is free, makes your identity available to them. You purchase a subscription. You download and install TechStream. You start TechStream and you have to register their software. And then you can perform vehicle diagnostics and reflashing. Now, you don't have to have the PC that has TechStream on it and is registered. You don't have to have it connected to the internet at all times, but you do have to connect to the internet once a week. That's one of their requirements. It talks, it makes sure you have the latest version of the software, downloads anything if necessary. Sure.
Let's say you didn't use it for 3 weeks. Next time you boot it up, is it locked up?
It may tell, I haven't seen that yet, but it may tell you need to connect to the internet.
Okay.
It probably does.
Let's say connect to Toyota's website, not...
Yep, it'll happen all in the background. Their software will go out onto your network and get to the website and say, am I good? Am I all up to date? Do I need anything?
Physically go to...
No.
Software will do that.
Yep, every now and then they'll put a major release out and you have to go and install a new one, but it tells you all that. There's no hidden bells or whistles. You don't have to look that up yourself. They've made it very usable.
Once you install the technical software, can you disconnect from the internet and do the reflash, or it has to be connected to the internet?
Yes, reflashing, I believe you can disconnect. Diagnostics, you definitely can. Reflashing, I'm not sure if you can disconnect from the internet. From what I understand, the only time you have to be connected is once a week. That's all they require on their website. So I don't believe so, which is kind of nice.
You can buy the disc from Toyota, it's $75 for a disc, and have it there and do it that way.
And the download's only, it's less than 100 megabytes. I don't know how they fit it all into that, but somehow they must. I'll go over some GM stuff. GM's website is acdelcotds.com. At their website, you can purchase the Flash software, which comes as TIS2Web, SPS. Repair manuals, TSB, and other tooling is also available on their website. TIS2Web is kind of the portal to their service software. SPS is located within TIS2Web, and that's the software you'll be using with your pass-through device. Most modules can be reflashed. They do have some problems with some modules on the VTD module, or excuse me, modules on the single wire CAN network, which includes the VTD module, which key programming is involved with. And you may be able to. You may have seen more of that than me.
I don't do this through the JPass. Mm-hmm. I've never done it through the JPass. I only do it through the factory side of it.
Okay. And it doesn't require a 1-year subscription anymore. You can buy a quarter for $250. So, GM Class 2, which is the pre-CAN stuff from 96 to 2004, the controllers can become damaged if a flash fails. If it stops halfway through, if a cord gets kicked, sometimes there's some problems with GM software, or in case with a 2003 or 4 Trailblazer Envoy, if the other modules are still talking, if that fuse hasn't been pulled, the reflash fails, that controller is quite possibly dead. So, something to keep in mind.
You got to pull the fuse out to reflash?
Yeah, you gotta pull a BCM fuse.
Does it tell you that before you?
Yes, it
Yes,
does.
it does.
It's all in their TSBs, yep.
Don't go too fast
Yep.
through those screens, because it will tell you.
Yep, it's what happens is on that J2534, they start cramming a bunch of controllers on it, and at one point it tells them to all shut up, and they just wants to talk to the ECM, but the other modules keep talking, and it fails to flash because they all can't understand each other, basically.
So you just kill them.
It kills the ECU, yeah.
It goes through the erasing part with no problem.
What happens is how those controllers were designed by Delphi is there's what they call a bootloader or a BIOS in a computer.
Right, it switches and straps into the body.
They put that in the piece of memory that gets erased when they do the erase procedure. So once it gets erased and it's starting to download information in the controller and it fails, there's nothing to, the controller won't wake up. There's no brain in it, you could say.
That's the critical area.
Doesn't go all back up.
Nope. So, GM supports reflashing most modules, subscription, that's different now. Model year 96 and later can be reflashed. So, they give you all OBD2 vehicles.
Dinosaur now.
Yep. So, and there's probably 96s out there that need a reflash. Is there an update available? Once again, calid.gm.com. G had spoken about that earlier. That's a free service. Dump the VIN in, get controller lists. Part numbers are listed in order from oldest to current, and you pull that part number from the controller. Most manufacturers of J2534 tools give you software to do that.
Would it come up on a scan tool?
What's that? I'm sorry.
Wouldn't the calibration come up on your scan tool?
Yeah, the part number. If you have a part number, or excuse me, a tool that can pull the part number on the controller, and then you just cross-reference it on their website, and it'll tell you if it's the latest or not. So you don't have to. Yes, sir.
Is GM doing any reprogramming through the OnStar? Are they doing anything? Do you know?
They don't let you do that. They may themselves, if they did, they wouldn't tell anybody about it. They may, I've heard that they may do some updates. It was only recently, within the last few model years, that they would start doing it, because they've had a few generations of OnStar. I have heard of it. I don't know much about it, but I think they have.
Slow your car down and install it.
Yeah, I've actually heard of them. They have to be careful about it because, once again, battery voltages. You know, if that becomes too low, if they start doing a particular reflash and it's, 15 blowout where the car is and the battery is,
Stupid question.
Sure.
Man, I'd be so stupid. Why? And maybe some car companies do it, so maybe why are you erasing everything and reinstalling everything? Why can't they just update the program that's in there and just fix what's wrong with it?
That's how they do it.
No. You know what I'm saying? There was like Windows, okay, like I had an update today, three, whatever. They're adding to what's in there already. Why aren't the car manufacturers doing that? Why are we erasing everything?
Because these computers aren't as fast as the computer that you're dealing with.
No, I understand that, but
That's
why can't we just add, like, okay, the
Because the
problem
computer
right
will
there?
slow down so dramatically, the car probably won't run. That's why they were racing.
It's how they were designed.
Yeah.
It's
You're not dealing with the same computer.
No, I know.
Nowhere near.
No.
Not even
Let's
close.
face it, even a car computer today is more powerful than a PC from 10 years ago.
And they do. Even those now today are actually pretty simple as if you look at like even this computer. And they do that for reliability. It works. It's simple. It works. And then they keep the software as simple as possible and how it gets updated. So they just dump it all at once. So no, that's not a dumb question. No, it's just how they engineered it.
Yeah.
Engineers.
But the problem is, if the reflash fails, the computer's no good.
And that's
my problem with the whole thing.
That's only on the Class 2 controllers. Now, if you get a CAN controller, all the CAN controllers for GM, if a reflash fails, the vehicle may not start. You may have other problems, but the controller's not bad, most likely.
But it doesn't need that strap to get into the BIOS. Like, that's the problem with that. It can't wait. It doesn't even know what it is anymore. It's finished.
Yep. There's nothing in the memory. You can also connect the TIS to web. This is an older part. I don't recommend that. You can connect the TIS to web, and it'll tell you if it needs an update. It takes a little more time than referencing part numbers. But if you have a subscription, it's possible.
If you go through TIS to web, you can see the tree, the branches, and know each update will do right away if you do it that way.
So it tells you what you're fixing.
If you look at the lower window,
Right.
it'll tell you every step of the way from its original origin straight on down.
So if you miss 10 updates, you can
You can
backtrace
see each
it.
one. It's only going to allow you to pick the one, or there
Right.
might be a choice depending
Right.
on the car, but it'll tell you what each one.
Tell you what you're fixing. Right.
So it's another way. It takes a little more time, but
Right.
works just as well.
If you want to do some research,
a little more
it's a good way to
information.
do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How do I get started with GM? Once again, open up your Internet Explorer. acdelcotds.com is their website. Register, purchase a subscription, make sure your pass-through device is installed, log into TIS to web, start SPS. They do everything through SPS, Service Programming System. And I can show you a video of this as well. Here's acdelcotds.com. Same thing the dealers see. You'll register, give you all their information. This part's free. Of course, once again, it makes you an identity on AC Delco. This may go slow. You'll log in. I'm going to skip forward through this a little bit because I think we're running a little short on time. But basically what we do is we register, we purchase. Here we go. Back up a little bit. Selecting my subscription and purchasing. They give you the link to TistaWeb. This is the login page. You'll put in the username and password that you registered with on AC Delco. You're going to want to start SPS. You can also look up the calibration information. This is calid.gm.com, same thing. We're going to start SPS. SPS is a Java application. It runs in a pop-up window. So make sure your pop-up blocker is turned off. So.
So basically, you just have no security on that computer whatsoever.
Yeah, you want, once again, you want everything shut off, or it may not work. A Java application is running, downloading information through your computer. It's gonna freak out. We're going to select our device. Here we can test the connection. It'll tell us it was successful. So we know everything's working from the software to the passive device to the vehicle and back again. We're going to hit Reprogram ECU. We can also hit Replace and Reprogram ECU for putting a new controller in.
It's the same thing. You have to leave the old one in for a while and then
Yes.
swap them out.
Yes. And they have other ways of putting in their data.
This,
Yes.
does it cover European?
No. It uses the same software. The Europeans, it's all different for Europe. All their standards are quite a bit different, and it's kind of a gray area in the American market. What European vehicles?
See it says part number down the bottom there? Okay.
I can back up a little bit.
See that on the bottom, there's 3 part numbers? If you take a look, it follows the
Right.
branch along the way. On the other side, you see the current, see it says current calibration?
Right, right.
On the bottom, you see all those 3 part numbers?
Yeah.
They match the ones on the top, so you get to see what each thing is
Oh.
doing along
So
the
you-
way.
Sure, go ahead.
So you can actually look at these.
Right, so if
and
you
then
want to
read
know what
these.
that 122029003 was,
Yeah.
well, that part number changed only,
Right.
okay, it's right there on the
So-
bottom. But
so they do
sometimes
give you more information.
That branch will be all the way across the screen, there's been so many updates, and that's what Neil was trying to tell you before.
And it'll tell you everything it's
But,
fixing.
you see what says current calibration?
Right.
If you're all the way at the bottom, you're done.
Right.
That's it, you're done.
Right.
That's it. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
If you want to know what it is. And then when you hit next, you can then print a page and they'll give you what the beginning one is and what the end one is, and you can spit that out to justify the cost to your customer for the $100 a year.
Yeah.
And I think
just-
there's one part I think I passed by. It gives you the ability to select the module. And then right here, it's going to ask you for a programming type. It's going to say normal and VCI. You're pretty much always going to say normal. VCI is when the dealer adds an option like cruise control, and they add the module and do all that, and they have to contact GM and
So
they
it
do
didn't
it.
come with it and they want to add it to the car?
That's the vehicle content identification. You're going to use that also when it's not in the database. And you're going to call up the website, TistaWeb, and they're going to give you a number to punch in because it's not in this. It's not in there.
There's certain vehicles you'll run into that you go to do a program
It's a hoop.
and it won't work. And you'll be like, I don't understand what's going on, it fails and it doesn't work and you don't understand, then you'll sit on the phone with them and be like, oh yeah, you have to put the VCI number in, that's why it doesn't
Yeah,
work.
that car doesn't really exist. Use this number.
But for the most part, they step you through everything.
But it's nice and smooth.
This is the screen. It shows you the reprogramming. I think this was an 01 S10 with the 2.2. This took roughly 15 minutes at this point. Tells you that the downloaded programming was complete. It'll give you some other procedures that you may need to follow.
Make sure you follow them, otherwise it won't work.
Just trouble in Gotham City.
Yep. And that's pretty it. The software is easy to use. It's easy to get running, unlike some others. Actually, a little involved.
I think it runs better on the internet than it did on disk. It was more problematic on the disks, I think.
Yes, they did have more. With TIS 2000, they did have more problems.
Terrible.
You better off with the internet.
You can't do it any other way.
That's one of the reasons they went to the internet, because if it came out quarterly, and if they had a big problem on one quarter, you have to wait a whole another quarter to get it
So
fixed.
you were buying,
Well, they'd have to mail out disc right
you
away.
were buying a disc
to
that
fix
had
the
all the
problem.
updates on it?
Yeah, and if one of the updates was corrupted,
Wow.
Yeah, they'd say,
And that was-
"Oops, we have a problem, we gotta send you out a disc right away."
can you send a computer with that?
It's kind of like when we used to buy books. If it was printed wrong, it was wrong forever.
When things go wrong with GM, pretty much the same thing. Gather all error numbers, text, firmware and driver of your passenger device, vehicle information, operating system of the PC you're using, and then send all this information to GM. Contact your pass-through vendor, and I have some couple easy fixed problems. And then I've mentioned this, the 03, 04 Tahoes. For GM, this is the most I've got calls on, is pulling the fuses. They didn't, of course, check their TSBs, and they fried the engine controller. Some general info, techauthority.com is their website, and they give you repair manuals and TSBs with a subscription. It's $30 for a day. Skim codes may be set during a reflash. If the vehicle has a skim module, the skim may need to be unlocked.
What's a skim?
It's their immobilizer.
Oh.
And there is a way to work around it. I know we provide an application that does a skim reset, as you call it. And then you'll dump the VIN and odometer back in the engine controller. Then the skim looks at the engine controller and says, your VIN and odometer match mine, so everything's good. They like each other again.
You're supplying the customers the secret code to enter in?
That secret code actually never passes through the tool.
No, well, I enter it, but in order to work around it, you're giving them a code.
No.
No?
It never passes through the tool. It never gets to the engine controller.
Okay.
It actually there's a
You said lock
hexadecimal.
up the skim, so if you want to unlock the skim, you have to enter a code.
You doing a DRB3?
Okay.
All they do is there's a hexadecimal byte
Right.
that sits in the skim, and we set it to FF, which is 0, and it will from there learn the
Oh,
engines.
so you just do the string with the FF?
Yep. And there's a particular addressed byte. That's all they do. They unlock the tool with that code so that it'll do that. So, and that's still kind of a work in progress on our end. We only do pre-can stuff at the moment, but that hopefully Chrysler will make that available in the future, and we won't have to worry about that. So.
Oh, that's good to know. And that's done through the program that exists online? You can get into that area?
Yes. Yep. And then they do all 96 to present engine and transmission controllers. I think a couple other odd controllers have been popping up, but I wouldn't count on them. Their engine controllers, transmission controllers are generally recoverable in the event of a reflash. I've never seen a reflash kill one. There may be other causes of killing a controller, but a reflash is typically not one. Is an update available? With Chrysler's how it works is it's also free. They have a huge document on their main page that gives every part number that they've ever created from 96 and later. How their part numbers work, and these are stamped on their controllers, is it's 8 digits and then 2 letters. When they update a calibration, if it starts at AA, it goes to AB. You don't want to take what's on the controller as the current calibration because maybe somebody didn't put a sticker on it that said they'd updated it. You can pull, there's a variety of tools that pull, most of the major J tools have a software that does that pulls the part number out, and then you can reference it on this huge sheet that they have. It's around 178 pages long. What comes into play is in Adobe Acrobat you can hit Control F and it's a find function. That part number that you pull out with your tool, put that into that find function, it'll automatically go right to that point in the document, and you can see what the new part number is, if there is one, and you'll know if there's a new calibration. So, it's a pretty, once you've done it once, you can look it up pretty quick. And that's in your document. I didn't say it word for word, but if you follow this, it'll teach you. It's in your handout. It'll show you exactly how to do it. How do I get started? Pretty much the same as the other ones. There's you go to their website, register, buy, log in. You'll download their application. They're a little different as far as how they send you the calibrations. They have a window that you'll open from their website. Once again, you have to keep your pop-up blocker off. You'll put in that part number that you pulled, and it gives you the new one. Then downloads it to your computer. You'll never find it or see it. You'll run that application. That application then dumps that calibration into the controller. If you have a skim module and you put a new controller in, then you'll have to do the skim reset and then add the VIN and odometer back into the engine controller.
And how are you adding that in now? Through your PC?
We have a program that does it. Various other tools do it. Put the VIN and odometer. The odometer is called the SRI reset. So, yep, that's totally available. And I do have a video. Would you guys like to see the video?
Sure.
Excellent. Let's see here. DCX. It's not DCX anymore.
Won't be any more soon anyway.
Now it's FCX. Let's see here.
Fiat says they can't turn a profit within a certain margin, they'll cut them loose.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, they.
Not coming from Fiat, huh?
Yeah. Fix it again, Tony.
Here's the Chrysler website. That document that I had told you about, the huge long one with all the part numbers, is available on the left-hand side. You'll click on the Tech Authority online link. You can register then for free. Once you do so, then you'll purchase a subscription. With the subscribe link after you've logged in. There's their disclaimer. Yep, make sure you read it. It's only.
Everybody does that.
Put in your card information and all relevant information. Take your money. Now you can log into Tech Authority online once you've purchased a subscription. You'll log in one more time. And they do give you access to TSBs. I believe wiring diagrams, repair manuals. It's all a part of their one-day subscription. So their longer-term subscriptions get expensive quick, though. I think it's like $1,600. It's $1,200 or $1,600 a year. So. This is a little different now. They just changed it recently. And what they did is now 09 and later vehicles have a different application, and the previous vehicles still use this old one. But right now I'm downloading this Chrysler application, the actual application that sits on the computer and dumps that calibration we download into the vehicle. I'm going to install this, and I'm just going to We've seen a couple installs already, so I'm just going to jump through this. I'm going to go back to the website, and the same window that we opened gives us the availability of putting in the part number here. It's going to give us the part number over here. We're going to click on it, and we're going to hit this download button. And it's going to download the actual calibration files to a super secret place on your computer that you'll never be able to find. You're going to want to run this. This one runs a Java application in this window, so you're going to want to make sure that, once again, all of your antivirus is turned off. You've gone to java.com and updated to the latest version of Java. When it says your download has successfully completed, now it's time to run this application we've installed. And this is an old one. This used to be called the DCX Update Manager. They're not owned by Daimler anymore, so it's now called J2534 Flash Application. That's what they call it. They have a huge lightning bolt as their icon. We're going to select our device, in this case the Cardac Plus. Hit Start. You won't ever see that window, so don't worry about it. They have multiple key cycles like Ford, many key cycles, so make that accessible. And then it goes through. And this process, this was, what was this? Just tell me. It was an SBEC controller. An older Chrysler. I can't remember what it was. Late 90s. And this one it didn't take that long, 15 minutes. So at this point.
Hey, what I'm noticing on the new Chrysler is you go to do the powertrain and it does a slew of miles.
Mm-hmm.
A slew of them. Everything from the final drive to the transmission to the body. It will not let you do it. It does its own thing.
They want everything to
They
match.
want everything to be matched.
Yep, all the systems are being codependent now, and they want everything to match. Maybe even another reason why they'll open up J2534 even further.
The later Fords are doing it also now. It finishes the engine and then it goes right into another module now.
Mm-hmm.
That's what all the Lincolns are doing that now. All the ones that know.
But it goes through. I'm doing the PCM, and in case of this particular controller, that's the engine and transmission controller. They do it all at once. It's one and the same. Chrysler did that for quite a while. They called them PCMs, powertrain control modules. Once again, I cut that out. That process took about 12 minutes to get that bar all the way across. More key cycles, and then it's done. This program is not horribly interactive. It won't tell you to pull fuses. It won't tell you to do specific procedures. So once again, reference TSPs. Repair manuals as much as possible. And we have the waiting game. And that's turnkey to run position. I think that's it. And that's it. That's a Chrysler reflash. And once again, you know what I'm doing with this is just plugging it into the PC and into the vehicle, and that's the only relationship I have with a pass-through device. It's just plugging it in. When things go wrong, I'm not going to go through this. We've been over this a million times. Same as the previous slides. Collect all the information. Get a hold of the OEM, then us. Common Chrysler errors and quick solutions. Internet Explorer and the latest Java must be installed. Internet Explorer, I believe 6 and 7. They won't do 8. And it may only be 6. They have that in their requirements on their website. Latest Java must be installed. Once again, go to java.com. Make sure all antivirus software, firewalls, anti-malware software is turned off. We've went over that. Make sure that's all shut off. It'll keep the calibrations from getting downloaded from their website.
If you buy a new PC and it comes with Internet Explorer 8, what are you supposed to do?
You can download old versions.
You can go back and download?
Yep, they keep it on their website because unfortunately Microsoft isn't so good at providing for other people when they update their software, and so they keep all that old stuff available.
So they're kind of saying, we know somebody needs us to use 6 or 7.
So they keep it available.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Just so you know, there are companies out there that will custom tailor a laptop to the requirements that these manufacturers need. You'll have probably a much higher processor, a quick laptop, but if you need Internet Explorer 6, and you only need XP or XP2.
You call Dell. You tell Dell exactly
make it.
Dell will make it exactly how you want. You just have to be firm with them and tell them, this is what I want.
They may be done with XP now. I think Microsoft forced them to be done with XP.
Nah, you just...
I think so.
Because the Windows 7 is out now. And Windows 7 is what the manufacturers are going to be doing their requirements next for. So I don't know when that'll happen. If I had to guess, it'd probably be towards the end of this year is when they'll make all their software work. But that's a guess, and we...
And they'll be more proud.
I think that's pretty much it for me tonight. I have a checklist on the last page. These are absolute musts. PC, internet connection, JTool, battery charger, or I should say a power supply that meets all the requirements for your particular vehicle. Forget about the jump pack. Manufacturer's service subscription, tooling for complementary procedures, things like GM crank relearn, skim reset on Chryslers, other procedures based on TSB, and then of course access to TSBs, repair manuals, and service information. These are what you need. Bottom line, minimum. So that's it, gentlemen. Hopefully if you guys